Good morning, Stockholm, and good morning. Good morning to everyone following us online as well. Super excited to be here. My name is Eirik. I'm the CEO of 24SevenOffice. Plan for today is that I'm going to give a little bit intro about the company, where we've been and where we're planning to go, as well as we have some fresh numbers and status for the Q4 report out today. So hopefully the presentation now is so good that you don't need to follow the other presentations later today. But anyways, before we start off with the presentation, we'd just like to mention a few words about myself. Quite fresh in the CEO role, started in November last year. Before that, I was heading up the business development group, working typically with the M&A activities, strategic decisions, projects, and some post-mergers. And before coming into 24, I have several years of experience in a consulting company called Boston Consulting Group. And there I worked both in terms of like the management consulting aspect, doing strategy work, but also as a data scientist working kind of hands-on programming price models in Python. So kind of these two things in the background is giving me kind of a competitive edge, I would say, into this role in 24SevenOffice. So plan for today, start off giving a little bit intro to the vision and the background for 24. Then I'll go a little bit into like what are we exactly doing, what kind of key products have we offered, and where do we want to be. After that, I'll give some short kind of info from the Q4 fresh numbers today. Quite excited for both the results for Q4 as well as like the plan and the pipeline ahead. And lastly, we just want to mention a little bit about the plan and kind of the key focus areas for 24 going forward. So starting off with 24's vision. Empowering businesses for the future. And that might sound a little bit high level for some of you, but in 24 we firmly believe in this vision because we sit on so much data and kind of market leading tech, and with all the kind of extensive experience that the 24 family has had for the last 20-25 years, we truly believe that we can help businesses going forward. And this could be everything from just getting the organization to be more data-driven, to give the processes more transparency, to understand the supply chain. And this will also help the society in itself because you can kind of reduce the waste. Of course, the green wave with the footprint, the carbon footprint, that's super important to focus on now. So all in all, we feel that the kind of the setup we have in 24 with the vision of empowering the business for the future, we truly believe that that's going to make a better working world. And just to give some context of where we're coming from before we're diving into our services and products, we're actually born in the cloud, and we were the first ERP and accounting company 100% in the cloud already in 1997. And I cannot take credit for that, but luckily for us, we still have several of kind of the important stakeholders launching this into the cloud already or until now as well. And the cool thing about that is that we already built it quite module-based in the cloud, which means that we're kind of future set up for success. But you could also imagine that that will kind of give us some extra legacy to kind of rework with kind of the new technology and the products. But the good thing is that we built it quite module-based, which makes it easier for us to like add on new products and services that we're going to go into a little bit more in detail later. And as you can see, like the cloud-based setup is giving us both kind of the speed and the scalability that we both can customize this for like the smaller clients and also the larger to mid-sized and enterprise clients. And right before diving into kind of our products, just want to give overall a high level some of our key clients. You could see Oda here, which was former Colonial, fast e-commerce retail chain. We also have some of our key partners listed here, like PwC, KPMG, BDO, And as we can see a little bit later, like our revenue streams and our channels towards the customers, it's both direct to our end customers and also through our strategic partners. And we shouldn't underestimate kind of the importance of working with all these partners, both in terms of giving us like good experience, but also feedback in terms of like how can we enhance our products, and also how can we get extra resources, extra market breadth to kind of develop our products towards being more competitive. And next section here, I want to speak a little bit about our products, where we've been, what's kind of our core offerings, and then where we're seeing ourselves going forward. As you can see, like traditionally, we've been focused on kind of the small to mid-sized companies with kind of the core services, with the accounting part, the invoicing part, with the AI motor built on top. And if you were to use 24, the system, you would kind of see a dashboard in your browser with all kind of these parts listed down here, where you can simply or easily click on them. And what's nice is that we built this project and time reporting modules on top, which are then tightly integrated towards, like, if you send an invoice, you can connect to a project and you can report hours on it and so on. What's really cool is that this has kind of been our core service offering so far, but going forward, we see that like building the ecosystem around this product is just getting more and more traction and also getting more and more important. So coming from kind of a traditional offering as also our key competitors, we also now started to kind of building the ecosystem of the different or additional products. And as you can see here, all of these products, and I'll list them quite quickly here and go into a little bit details, but these are kind of giving us like an extra edge towards the customer, increasing the customer lifetime, as well as like building the whole ecosystem around our business. So take, for example, the invoice part, where we send out an invoice. Previously, we had to kind of give out our margin or revenue to kind of follow up the invoices, payment reminders, payment collectors. When we're now owning this ourselves, both in terms of the system and also kind of a payment collector license, we can just have this in our own ecosystem and follow up and give an even better service to our customers. So quickly just going around there, like the HR part is also anticipated to grow enormously. I think it's like more than 5 billion Swedish krona is the market size, and it's still growing in Norway and Sweden. And recently we bought a HR software company in Denmark targeted towards enterprise clients. And as we speak, we're now rolling that out and making it work with our 24 system in Norway and Sweden. In addition, that it will work kind of as a spearhead into the Danish market, which is quite exciting. We also have, as I mentioned, the debt collection, which is quite interesting. It will serve as an additional offering in our Fintech venture, which I'll also mention a little bit here. The reporting part, super important. Before, we used to kind of have integrations, which is also a revenue stream for us. But now taking over that ourselves and giving that functionality ourselves to our customers will also create additional revenue streams. Material planning system. We bought a US company 1 or 2 years ago in the US, cloud-based production and material planning system. It has now kind of been 100% integrated towards 24SevenOffice. Already in the US, it demonstrates crazy growth. And these months as well, we're rolling this out to the Nordic and the Swedish customers. So we're seeing a great upsell potential, both in terms of offering to our existing customers, but also we can use these additional kind of standalone products, finding key clients that just need this service, and then we can upsell them through the 24 offering afterwards. A few others that I would like to mention is the payroll system. Get a little bit back to the numbers there as well from the Q4 report, but that is just also some bread and butter for our company. Everyone needs it. I think we have more than 2,000 clients on it now, and it's growing rapidly. And lastly, to mention perhaps the Fintech venture that we're really putting our energy into. It's super potential. Everything from just having the invoices flowing through our system, more than a lot of invoices that we can kind of put either a QR code that you could extend or delay your payment. And in addition to that, you could also offer to buy the invoices firsthand so that you get a win-win effect. So just having this kind of buy now, pay later methodology and approach in 24, it's a big focus for us. Combining this also with the open banking, because as I mentioned, we were in the cloud quite early, and we already built a bank module that makes kind of the software itself able to do payments from bank to bank, and you don't need to log into your bank account separately. And having this open banking as well, combined with this kind of fintech venture, is also a super exciting venture for us. And maybe also just to sum up like all this offering, not only is it just giving us kind of a true kind of full breadth tech company services that we get talent that you can work with almost everything you want. We also believe that now we both can go towards enterprise clients with these product services. And also it's that when the enterprise clients, it's more stickiness, there's less competition, of course, higher barriers to entry, but again, higher profits as well. And we are looking at like in the future, we don't really think that you need kind of additional services, for instance, the bank to log into or other services. You can simply use, preferably 24/7Office. You basically have everything you need as a business, a one-stop shop, everything to putting up your web shop, to maintaining your storage, to sending out the invoices, to collecting them. So that's kind of our ambitions, and we're quite close to realize it. Just to mention quickly as well, important part of being kind of this enterprise-focused software is having integrations open for others to connect. Because of course there might be some custom tailored solutions that some customers want to leverage. And this, if we don't have it ourselves, we still want to be competitive, so we open up for different integrations. But this is also a win-win situation for us because we still own the customer relationship. We get extra revenues from either the integrator or the direct customer from using the service. Also to mention a little bit about how we position ourselves both in the market and which clients we're looking at. Originally, as I mentioned, we're focused towards like smaller to mid-sized companies. Now, we're really kind of targeting the enterprise segment, as I mentioned, both because of the higher profits and also less competition, but also our system is quite advanced, so it's more kind of fit for the more advanced needs. But still, if you see to kind of the box down to the left here, we're still open and definitely a very good option for the smaller businesses as well, but preferably that using it through kind of the partner accounting channels. And kind of our key kind of target or channels to contact our customers, a little bit as I mentioned before, we have kind of the right kind of boxes here. It's the accounting firms and the partner channel. This is a big significant revenue stream for us, and it's super important to have a close collaboration with some key strategic partners. And then to the left, we also are targeting direct customers, which is also a big revenue source. And no matter like either if you go direct to the customers or through partners, we still have the option and we still have kind of the customer contact points. So we see the customer, we can upsell it. We also kind of need to stay competitive, no matter if it's through the partner accounting channel or it's direct customers. And also maybe to underline here is that the partners are super important for us because they can give us super valuable feedback in terms of the products. If they're incentivized to kind of use them, to sell them to the clients and so on. So this is kind of a big focus area for us also going forward, setting up a bigger partner accounting team that will kind of maintain this both in Norway and Sweden and in Denmark and US going forward. Also quickly, a little bit about to get the grasp of the market here. The potential is huge, just in terms of numbers of businesses with the minimum one employee. It's 500,000 in Norway and Sweden. You count US and Denmark as well, it grows to several millions. And in addition, we of course have the option to offer it to kind of the businesses without employees as well. But the exciting part, perhaps coming on the next slide as well, it's kind of the size of the larger clients as well, which we're really focusing on now. So building kind of the ecosystem with additional products that I showed a little bit before, we are quite competitive here now going forward to target these enterprise clients, and there's a lot of market size for us. But going after these kind of the bigger players as well, we see some of kind of our competitors there that will be head to head. The big ones, perhaps on the larger ones, would be like the Oracle, NetSuite, the Visma, which have already been in this kind of segment already. But what's super interesting is that, for instance, the new kind of cloud production system that we bought and are integrating to our system, that has no true real competition in the Nordics right now. Like, it's so advanced, it's so cloud, it's so fast that we're really seeing that we can both capture their type of clients as well as kind of on-prem businesses as well. And if you go a little bit further down here, you see also that in the smaller segment, it's much more crowded, and we see that the competition here will increase even more going forward. So you can, for instance, see that Fort Knox has taken a lot of market share here. They've done it quite successfully. Still, we have some overlapping clients and functionality. But still, that's kind of also the rationale for us moving a little bit more up in the space of larger clients, because we see our product there as more competitive. A little bit just to mention kind of our enterprise journey as well, in terms of like this accounting part, invoicing, and one of our really cool venture, which is called kind of the AI assistant or AI accountant. Meaning that we're automating the whole process for receiving an invoice to authorize it to paying it. And this is kind of super exciting, both in terms of it saves a lot of costs for our clients. It helps them spend time on meaningful activities, but also it acts as kind of a top layer for perhaps our competitors that don't have this functionality yet. And for Norway and Sweden, we see no such similar technology as we have developed here. This one is developed on invoices for the last 20 years in 24. And as you can see, perhaps on the next slide here, it's in average, perhaps reducing the time spent on an invoice almost 70%. But also we see that a big kind of a strategic partnership for us, HSB, which you know in Sweden, saved a lot of hours using this technology. And the interesting part here is that this goes directly kind of on the man hours. So you could save costs there, but really like it helps like all of the AI that's in the society and the business. It doesn't really like steal the job. It just helps you spending and managing your time better. And this is exactly what we see with this technology as well. And what's really cool from my background, developing a lot of AI models before, it's really cool like seeing this in action and generating so much value for our businesses. Quick kind of just intro as well to kind of the data we position. Like here we just took a snapshot looking at how the revenue of tens of thousands of businesses in our system is compared to the personnel cost through the COVID period here for the last few years. And what's interesting is that the digitalization, also because of the AI and ERP systems going together, is that you could see overall the important part is this yellow line, which is the ratio of personnel cost to revenue, which you can see is kind of steadily decreasing, meaning that the personnel cost is quite steady. You don't fire employees and so on, but the revenues are increasing, meaning that you're able to digitalize your company and your processes in a more effective way. Yes. And so perhaps for the super exciting part there is also Q4 report we released this morning. And a few points I want to mention here. First of all, we're really happy to see that we have quite a sustainable growth for Q4 and the last year. Entering into 2021, 24SevenOffice was really on kind of a hyper growth journey, growing quite well following the 40 rule. But what we saw then when the COVID wave came in, that kind of the pipeline and the COVID slowed down our growth. Luckily, this was temporarily, and we really see now that like from Q4 and the pipeline going into 2022 is getting enormous. It's quite strong, and we'll get a little bit back to the details of this in the next slide. But what's interesting is, for instance, all of these, like the AI solution that I just showed, has kind of been rolled out and onboarded clients towards 2021. Now the volume is coming, now the revenues is coming, and this will kind of be a compounding effect going forward, the previous volume as well as the new one we're onboarding. Few key learnings. I guess I'm soon close on time as well, but from the Q4 and what we're looking ahead now is just that the pipeline is so strong. Like, to mention a few things, like the AI part, the last quarter it grew with 100% both in postings and in revenues. We have the payroll solution that we bought last year, and we rolled out starting this spring and this summer. We actually onboarded over 2,000 clients, 200 partners, paid out more than 1 billion Swedish krona already, and this has also increased with more than 100% from the last quarter. A few others kind of key ventures that we're looking into or betted on. It's Busy by 24SevenOffice. This is kind of a new modern way of reporting hours. Also showing great growth. We had more than 300% growth in the recurring revenue from last year. And not only the growth itself, but it's giving us kind of, again, a spirit into different verticals and industries. For instance, they're targeting quite well the marketing industry in Norway and Sweden, and recently also landed one of the biggest marketing bureau there. So just getting them on this solution, even though they're using a different ERP or accounting system, that's a super potential for us to kind of grow on the other services that we have as well. And lastly, perhaps also mention quickly again the master plan, the production material planning system that we have. In the US, again, growing with more than 300% for the last quarter. And now we're also rolling this out in Norway and Sweden. And we see basically such a high demand that we're now looking to just staff up enough position to meet this. So we're truly kind of like all of these ventures that we're betting on see great demand and growth, and we're quite strong in the belief that going forward, this will kind of create a very, very strong pipeline and growth in 2022 and 2023. And firmly believe that actually these 2 years and going forward will be one of the strongest period in 24SevenOffice's history so far. A few other kind of quick mention is we've also started a new price model, more on usage instead of license, generating also more revenues, which is quite cool. And the kind of the negative EBITDA that we have this year isn't such a problem because we're focusing on the growth and we have such large amount of customers in addition to all the products that we're growing on. So we know that just the extra revenues coming in, as well as the new price model and the large customer base, it's very simple for us to get EBITDA positive if we want. But we see it so strategically important to grow in these different aspects that we would like to still focus on growth going forward, but still doing it in a profitable way. So we firmly also believe that the EBITDA will have a positive development going forward. Lastly, also a few key events perhaps in 2021. We got certified, ISO certified, which means it's much more easier for us to target enterprise clients. And also lastly, we have made a few changes in the organization. We got a new chief sales officer with extensive experience from enterprise sales, Visma and Workday, already seeing enormous results from that in the sales department. As well as we had a strategic switch in the CEO role, where the previous CEO went into the board and also going to manage more long-term investments, and where I kind of came in as the new CEO, bringing some of my experience and my kind of thoughts on how we're going to develop this further. So very excited to move on that forward as well. Lastly, just want to quickly mention like 3 key focus areas, I would say, for me, which I think is super important for us to follow in order to stay competitive. First of all, talent. I think it almost doesn't matter what you do as long as you have the right and the best people. then you will always be competitive. You will make the best product for the customers. And in the tech industry, it just changes so much every year. So you don't really know where you're going to end up in 5 years anyways. But talent is super important for us. We're short-term initiatives. I'm trying to bring in and already bringing in a few from my previous networks where I worked with, as well as we're doing more strategic partnerships with schools, NTNU in Trondheim, KTH in Sweden, where we're really kind of getting the great talent. Also, just building this kind of holistic enterprise journey with our product suite, super important, and we're already in a good way and a good shape there. But there's so much use cases as well, leveraging AI, both internally and externally, that we'll focus on. For instance, just like optimizing the customer request using chatbots or health scores that the customer success responsible in our company can again use their time more efficiently instead of manually following up each client and putting in manual notes and so on. So that's super interesting. Maybe an external use case that's quite cool as well. Either we could kind of create prediction models for liquidity needs for our businesses. And if we see that there's a huge need for liquidity maybe the next month, we can also offer them credit, which we have with our bank partner. And we can give them a more competitive price because we also have the latest data on the company, whilst the bank maybe have to rely on later or maybe previous data from the last year and so on. And lastly, just mention growth again across our region. Norway is quite big already, but here we're adding all of the different product suites that I just mentioned. Sweden, really building a team here. US and Denmark just getting started. So I'm super excited for the growth journey ahead. And we really kind of see that this period going forward now is going to be the strongest in our history so far. Yeah, I don't think we need to mention that much of the M&A strategy, more than it's just that we're well-funded. We have a lot of capital. I think, updated number here is more 380 million Swedish krona for raising, as well as we have the convertible loan. So we have a lot of money in order to do strategic acquisitions, or we want to get access to some new customer portfolios, or we would like to have some of the great tech that's perhaps in Sweden, or we want some of the talent that developed it. So there's a lot of kind of strategic levers that we're always continuously following up on. And our footprint in the world is growing. Several offices, Norway, Sweden, US, and Denmark. And quite excited in Oslo, getting into our new 24/7 office house. We call it the castle behind the castle, because it looks like a castle and it's right behind the other castle. So when we grow out of this castle, we might go to the other castle, but we'll see. Yeah, so that was me. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talk fast. But I know on average a person thinks 4 times faster than someone talks. So it's actually it's quite smart to talk fast. You can still think about it normally.
I saw the time was getting close. I needed to step up, and some eyes that were swirling. So
This is very exciting. We ProHearings invoice about 80 to 90 companies, mostly smaller and mid-sized listed companies, but they should be within your preferred group. And I noticed last year that a lot of them has this new send invoice to invoices at 24SevenOffice.com, things like that. Is that a sign that they're hooking on to something like your offering?
Yes, so definitely it's integrated in our system, and of course depending on how far they came on the onboarding and so on, it's kind of, if they're onboarded and the model is trained, then it can go automized and it's going through the model. But also if it hasn't come that far, it's still kind of manual edits and so on. But the cool part of the model and so on, as well as the AI part, is that the invoice kind of the data is there, so you can use it historically when you build the model, and it's trained historically, as well as that you continuously build it on the training. When you accept that, you put it on different accounts and so on. So yeah, definitely we have a high-paced growth, and definitely sending it to that is enabling it for the automatic AI model.
A long time ago, end of 80s, I got hired by Statoil.
Okay.
And the first education they sent me on was time manager. I don't know if I was starstruck coming from a small town, but I still remember a few things there. And one of the things, it was the Danish guy that owned time manager. He said, if you want to be efficient, only hold a pen. In those days, it was a paper, an invoice, something.
Okay.
Deal with it once. Pick it up, deal with it, be done with it. Don't put it in to the right on your desk, pick it up, put it back. Is that part of the basic thinking in your automation, that everything flows in one go?
Yes, that's the ambition, and that's mainly for kind of our main clients, that's the case, right? Invoices coming in, goes through the motor, gets posted in different accounts, it's reconciliated, payments going through our bank module, which we also integrated back-end with the different banks. So, of course, depending on kind of level of maturity, if they're using all of our services, but that's definitely what can happen now, and it's also what we're trying to do for kind of all of our clients going forward. And of course, as you can see, perhaps also in the previous one, is that like if you get the proper kind of accounting software, connects it to each other, 3 times increased productivity is what they're thinking. I think even more, just because you shouldn't really need to touch anything unless there is some kind of bugs or errors or whatever.
And you had this HSB in Sweden as a customer. You put 25,000 hours. Rough calculation gives like 15 to 20 full-time.
Yes.
Accounting staff.
Yes, exactly. Which is has been one of our most successful projects and one of kind of our big projects. Just learning all the typical aspects of onboarding a client. Complexity, how you train a model, how it's used different, and so on. But all in all, super successful project. And now the exciting part is that the model is trained quite well, and also the revenues will now start to come in from that project as well, and going into 2022.
I'm a bit curious about the strategy in the US. I don't know how it functions there in this aspect, but have you ever entertained the idea of forming a joint venture with someone who owns the market there, so that you could roll out your product in a more aggressive way?
Yeah, really good question. And it's, I think it's all about time and prioritization, because US is such an exciting market, showing high growth, and a few of our kind of products that I was mentioning, like the master plan, like the cloud production system, that's what we kind of bought in the US, and it's so robust, and we're seeing such a high demand that we don't really see a need for joint venture for that one, because actually we have an ambition to perhaps become maybe the 8th to 10th largest provider of the production grade system. We just need to optimize some of the onboarding for the smaller clients, but it's really working well. But to your point about, like, for instance, the accounting part, or maybe the different kind of the fintech part, definitely we have thought about it, and it's just about like having enough manpower and time to kind of prioritize the activities that we're looking for. But for instance, the AI model that we're developing, that's a joint venture with the AI company called Vic.ai. And it's super exciting because we're leveraging kind of the best of breed AI expertise with the kind of a lot of invoices data. And so kind of these types of kind of corporations we're looking forward to going forward as well. But also to mention there, like in terms of the AI capability, I feel quite strong on that going forward, that should be a kind of internal capability as much as you can, because going forward the data will be so important and that you need kind of team to kind of maintain it, and that's what we're building right now as well. But great question, and JV or acquisitions in the US are quite high on the agenda. But it's as you saw, it's a lot of different ventures we're looking into. So it's if we could kind of clone everyone in the organization today, we would do really good, but it takes some time to get all the right people.
Thank you. Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. As an investor here, interested in possibly invest in going back to Warren Buffett, is you have to know what you invest in, and I have to go back and do what I normally do, read and try to analyze myself. But can you give us some flavor about the competition and why are you going to be profitable? What is your competitive edge towards Fortnox and others?
Good question. I think it's maybe divided into 2 or 3 parts. Becoming profitable, it's one in just terms of the upside and the revenues and the sale. We just see that the core kind of services, those are increasing both in terms of Norway, but also we see great upside potential in Sweden and Denmark. And in addition to just the core services, we have all the additional ventures that we mentioned, right, with the AI part, the HR system, the payrolls, and all of these ventures that we're now betting on, they show like tremendous growth, all of them. And we looked at the pipeline in 2022. We're really working hard on just staffing up so we can meet that demand. So we're quite sure that only the growth there will create a profitable growth. In addition to that, we have the new pricing model, which is more based on usage instead of license. From that as well, we have kind of done calculations and see that we'll just get extra help, quite significant help, just for changing the price model. And going into more of the enterprise segment as well, that will also help us create more profits. And one example again there is the AI bet that we have, because not only can we deliver it to kind of our own clients, we can also use it on top of the competitor products, for instance, Fortnox or other. We can take the invoices through and then we start to get a customer relationship with them. And if they see that our model is working so good, so fast, then perhaps they would like to use our tech as well. And meaning that perhaps their customers from the partners or the end customers themselves, they want to jump onto 24. So it's just across all kind of our bets we see now, growth are coming and demand are quite high. And we're also kind of the strategic movement in the space where we're moving a little bit up from the crowded, smaller space, which Fortnox is quite good at. And Fortnox is quite success history as well. And they kind of succeeded in building this kind of app and marketplace with additional services. And they bought kind of this Fintech venture as well, where they can do the same buy now, pay later, Klarna for B2B, which is our same idea and the same tech that we have. So we just see additional revenues from the extra services we're going to get as well. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Thank you. We'll get one question from me and the last from an investor in the audience. Yep. We'll do short answers.
Yep.
And talk about Fortnox. They make Arcan printers 10 to 345 kronor look like nothing. They're for the duration of the stock on Avanza, they're up 13,600% and 1,000% in 5 years. They started as a small company, smaller than you, and now they're big. But my question is, what you haven't been able to automate, Erik, is your customer acquisition process, because you spend a lot of money, and even though revenue is coming in, customers are coming in, but it's quite costly for you to acquire a customer, isn't it?
Good question. Historically, slightly yes and no, but going forward, combining all our ventures with onboarding, we don't think that will be at such a high cost. We actually think it gets lower for the small to mid-sized. Of course, coming into the enterprise segment, we'll see a higher acquisition cost, but again, the customer lifetime value will be much higher again as well. So firmly believe that this will have a true positive kind of journey going forward, just because all of our kind of ventures that we're building kind of customer historical, because it's much easier than to have, we get a customer portfolio from the HR company we bought, merging it into 24, compared to go and cold calling and so on, and building the partners as well, having them to help us building the customers onto our solution. For instance, again, using the AI motor on top.
I have so many follow-ups, but I will omit them and give the last question to an investor in the audience.
Thanks a lot for a very good presentation, very interesting. I have two questions. What are your offerings for your clients concerning cybersecurity? And what's the other thing would be, how do you view the module of e-learning, which is always a very important thing for every company to make their talents and employees work better, more efficient, change? Those two things I would like to ask you.
Yeah, so if I understand, the first question was in terms of how we're offering the cybersecurity to our customers, right? Yes. Yeah. In terms of our systems, it's a super heavy focus for us to kind of internally, having built a robust system both for external penetration and security and data governance and GDPR and all of that. That's super important for us to satisfy. So we kind of have built our own kind of CISO and the team around him. This was also a crucial part for getting the ISO certification. So it's much easier for enterprise clients to say, check, 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 you have this in place. And we got that both for Norway and Sweden. And we're also targeting this for our next markets going forward. But like externally giving them additional kind of help on penetration testing and so on, that I see also perhaps as a competitive advantage and a capability we should focus on along with kind of the AI and the part there. So not extensively to my knowledge, perhaps we have some, but at least it will be a focus area going forward because it's so important. And for your last question in terms of e-learning.
This has to be very short.
Very short. We're rolling it out now, actually, so it helps our consulting team to just like, okay, for the more generalized things that the customer can learn themselves, we're rolling that out now, and then the consultants can use more time on the more complex kind of things. Again, all this AI digitalization, both helping us internally and externally.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you. 24/7 Office.
Yes.